Okay, so our online team just mentioned. I'm going to put this in the thing. So there is.
Are you going to give it up now?
I don't know. Okay, well, we can wait. We can wait. Let's wait.
We haven't even talked about any dog training yet.
Yeah, okay. Let's wait. We'll wait. Fine. Okay. Big questions. You as a puppy owner, you feel like you have limited time. Maybe you feel super overwhelmed, and we don't want you feeling that way because you don't have to. You can get farther faster by giving your puppy good information, but you need to know what some of those steps are, and you really need to avoid some of the pitfalls that most new puppy owners make. So we need to talk about some of these things. I think I like this one. This is a good place to start. I can just find my little mouse. Good place to start. And I'm going to ask Kale these questions. She is, without a question, the expert, 21-time world champion dog trainer, singer, dancer.
It depends on the situation.
Either way, you're ready. How early should I start training my puppy? It's a super common question, and I think a lot of people who bring a new puppy home are kind of confused about this.
Yeah. The short answer is immediately. The moment you bring your puppy home, you should start training your puppy. The longer answer is, what does training your puppy mean? Because I think sometimes when people say, when should I start training my puppy, people automatically think like, when should I start training my puppy to sit and come to their name and all those types of things. But one thing that we really teach you in our programs is that training happens all of the time. Sometimes, yes, you are deliberately and intentionally training your dog to do skills, but also everyday interactions with your dog, management, feedback, engagement, all of those things are also training your puppy to understand kind of how the rules of your house are going to go. So you're going to be actively training and guiding and mentoring your dog all of the time, along with actually training skills, which you also can start on right away. You don't have to wait. Obviously, there's going to be a list of skills that you would start. We would recommend that you start with first, and then some things that we would not recommend you start until later. But again, short answer is yes, start training right away.
Absolutely. We actually have quite a few videos on the channel that talk about, like, pre-recorded videos that talk, actually, we
First
have a couple
exercises
of vlogs
to do
when
they get home.
Yeah, in fact, there was 2 videos now, or at least one for sure with Euchre, where we show you the whole trip home. Like, we show you picking this puppy up, bringing her home, and there was a couple challenges along the way.
Yep.
Like, there were a couple of hiccups along the way. And then what happens the moment we get her home? And remember, how many puppies would you say you've had? Like, personally had?
12, 13 so far.
So lots of experience, like lots of, opportunities to go through this. And
over 10.
Yeah.
Under 20.
Personally, affected and invested in the growth development of these puppies, some of the pitfalls that people make. And one of the big ones is they don't start training early enough.
Nope.
Like, it's just not.
They want to let their dog be a puppy before they start training, but you can do both at the same time.
Yeah. Sort of the short version of that is you start training right away, but don't work on the sits and stays and don't go leash walking with that puppy. You're going to take it easy. We'll talk in a minute about some of the things that you should be doing, but and how to think about it.
Yeah.
So that's really valuable. Okay, I like this one. How long should I train my puppy each day?
Well, we would recommend that the best way to train your puppy, and again, I assume this question is related to training your puppy to do skills or tricks or obedience or things like that. We would recommend that you train your puppy multiple times a day, have multiple sessions throughout the day, but those training sessions should be very short. And by very short, I'm talking like 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what you're working on. Puppies and dogs in general, especially if they haven't had much training yet, but puppies in particular have a very short attention span. And when we're training our dogs, we are looking to get really good engagement from our puppies. And sometimes if we just push the limits a little too long, our puppies' brains sort of fizzle out a little bit. And then you end your training session and they're, a bit sniffy and they're distracted and you don't have really good engagement. So we like to train for short periods of time, but we do it multiple times throughout the day and work it into our everyday engagement with the puppy already, and that seems to be the best way to train your dog efficiently and quickly and effectively.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's great. I forget what that's called. It's called a tricollie or something.
Trifecta.
It should be a trifecta. If you're nailing all those three things, it is a trifecta.
You're right.
If you're talking about the amount of time, can you judge the amount of time you should be training a puppy for? Like, so how long should I be training? People want us to say, 60 minutes every day. It doesn't work like that. Kale talked about breaking it down into short training sessions.
Yeah.
How do you know when, okay, that's enough of a training session for, breakfast time or something?
I usually find that out pretty early by watching my dog's behavior and engagement. If I'm, been playing and doing some stuff for a few minutes, and all of a sudden my puppy starts to get, disengaged, I'm either going to go, they either have to go to the bathroom or I've trained too long. And so the next time I train, I'll shorten it by several minutes and see what I get. And if my puppy's still ready to rock by the end of it, maybe I'll push the boundaries a bit more the next time, or I learn where my sweet spot is. You always want to make sure when you're training your puppy, and this actually is going to be something you follow all the way through your dog's training journey, even as they get older and you're engaging with them, you always want to quit while you're ahead. You want to quit when your dog wants more, because that's what builds more motivation to do things with you.
Yeah, it's great. And the amount of natural training opportunities that'll come up, like the amount of things that are, and we'll talk about that in this next question, but the amount of things that are going to happen naturally. You don't have to go out of your way, get your leash ready and put your bait pouch on or whatever. It's going to happen, so you'll be ready for it, and you can train through it. So let's talk about, how do I know what to teach my puppy?
How do you know?
That's a great question. You ask us.
Yeah.
We can help you.
Yeah. I remember sometime I was teaching a puppy class, and we were getting to the end of it, and somebody put their hand up and they were like, "So, how do you train the dogs?" And I was like,
"Oh, that's great." Yeah. Oh,
I feel like we're going to take the next 4 weeks and 8 weeks of the program to learn that.
Yeah,
Such a big question. So how do I know what to teach my puppy? Well, there's so many things that you can do, but really you want to start at the basics. And this is going to sound a little weird, but one of the things that we like to do right from the beginning with our puppies is teach our puppy anything that helps them to learn how to learn.
Yeah.
Teach them problem-solving skills. Teach them recovery skills. Teach them anything that is related to engagement with us. We don't do a lot of things where the puppy gets to go and be independent, like off by themselves and kind of forgetting that we exist. A lot of the things that we start off with are things that we can do together with our puppy, because the most important thing to me in the first couple weeks of having my puppy home is to start to develop a bond with them. Because once we have a nice bond with one another, the training starts to get a bit better. So if you want specifics, I would work on getting my puppy used to luring. So what that means is, if I have treats in my hand, can my puppy really easily follow my hand with the treats in it, so that I can start to use that technique to teach my puppy to look at me, to sit, to lie down, to follow me, all of those things. So that would be one. We teach the puppy about what the word yes means, because we use yes as a verbal marker for when our dog is correct. So we teach them about that. I would start introducing their name early on. We do that very differently than what most people do. Most people just start using the name repetitively over and over and over again. And we actually deliberately do not do that. We do not say their name when they are a puppy, unless we're in a training situation, because I want my puppy to eventually, when I say their name, to look at me when I say their name. The first time, every single time I say it, I want attention. So when I'm trying to rehearse this with a baby puppy who doesn't have any experience, I deliberately wait until I have something on my person that can help me get that attention, whether it's saying their name and then showing them some food, or saying their name and showing them a tug, or saying their name and giving them a little tickle and backing away and having some fun, so that my puppy learns, when I hear this word, oh my gosh, great things happen and I need to pay attention to you. We deliberately avoid saying their name in almost all situations until we've actually trained our dog to respond to it.
Yeah.
There's also a lot more that we do, but I feel like that's a lot to start off with.
Absolutely. Relationship building. That's
anything relationship and bond that will form a bond between you and the puppy.
And that includes you. Like we've talked about that before. You may have mentioned that just now.
Yeah.
Thing. Like if it includes you, it's a benefit.
That's right.
We have 2 super chats. Now I haven't tooted in a long time, so I got one loaded up. Two interesting questions that we don't often get. I mean, we're kind of opening a big. Let's address this. Let's talk about this. Courtney Raybon, congratulations on your first super chat. I have second pick. What character traits are best? This is a big question.
I'm assuming you have second pick in the litter for the puppy. Just assume that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
What character traits are best? That's a hard one to answer, Courtney, because I kind of need to know what your lifestyle is like and what you're looking to do with the pup. If you're somebody who is going to be active, if you're looking for the dog to do active things with, if you have a busy life, or if you have more of a chill life, you're going to be looking for different personality traits that's going to match what you want the dog for. Personally speaking, I would try to look for a puppy that is confident but not overly confident. I would look for things like that, like if you're around all of the puppies, like how much natural engagement do you get? Are they off like doing their own thing? But I would say the best tip I have for you is to and if you're allowed to pick yourself, separate the puppies in order to spend time with them. Don't only pick off of puppies that are only together in a litter, because some dogs will be very comfortable when they're surrounded by their brothers and sisters and in the place that they've grown up and they've spent most of their time. But you take that puppy that's all confident in that situation and you put them in a different room in the house, and you take them outside and their brother and sisters aren't around, you get a very, very different experience. And sometimes people are shocked when they get their puppy home and they're like, oh my God, why is it so scared? It was so confident in the litter. So you can tell those types of things. So that would be a couple tips for you there.
I think Courtney might have Border Collie Poodle.
Oh, interesting.
She mentions I'm pretty active. I train recreational.
I would look for confidence first.
Yeah. GSD Random. Why does my 8-month-old GSD listen really well off leash, but on leash she acts like I don't exist?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There could be a lot of factors.
Yeah, there's so many factors. In some cases, when dogs are on leash and when the leash is tight, whether you're making it tight or whether the dog is making it tight, because the dogs know they're on leash, it's actually very easy for the dogs to just know that you're there. They don't really have to worry about you, so they disengage. You're pulling them around. You're making them sit. You're making them follow you by pulling the leash. The dogs say, well, this is perfect. I don't have to do anything. You're going to do all the work for me. I'm not saying this because I think dogs should be off leash just because it listens better. I would really work on making sure that when your dog is on leash that you're focusing a bit more on engagement, perhaps move to more stationary exercises rather than ones that involve a lot of movement, distraction, stimulation, and try to get your dog to work with you with the leash loose, perhaps incorporate some treats into your training or their favorite toy to get a bit more engagement. But it is, there's lots of dogs that will behave very different when the leash is on versus off. I would argue that the dog listens perfect as an 8-month-old dog off leash all of the time, and to the degree that we would expect. I think sometimes if it, at that age with that freedom, for the most part, if it works in your dog's favor, most dogs listen really, really well until there's a squirrel or until there's a bunch of other dogs over there, or, until somebody's eating that hot dog and the dog just decides that they would rather do that instead. So I would continue your leash training. Maybe a long line would be a great option, a nice stepping stone between having the dog completely off leash and then having the dog on a short leash. But I would flip towards more stationary work on leash so that you can improve that.
The other thing I wonder is if you're in a situation where your dog can be off leash and you're in situations where your dog needs to be on leash, they're likely very different environments.
Yeah.
If you're choosing to allow your dog off leash, there's likely less distraction there. But if they're on leash, you're probably using it for a reason. So maybe the environment is too distracting, or you haven't reinforced some of those good attention skills on that 6-foot leash around some of these challenging things. So consider that. Think about, okay, if we're getting great results out wherever you are off leash, maybe it's time to pop the 6-foot leash on and work on some walking, work on some recalls, work on some stationary skills. It could be really valuable at that point.
Yeah, we have so many drills in our programs that specifically work on leash respect.
Yeah.
So that means that when the leash is attached to your dog's collar and you're holding on to the end of it, whether you're sitting, standing, running, walking, whatever you're doing, we actually train the dogs that it's their responsibility to keep the leash loose regardless of where they are around us. So if we move one way, they just learn to move with us in a way that the leash never goes tight. And once they understand that concept, then teaching them to come when they're called, teaching them to listen to us around distractions, teaching them to walk on a loose leash, all becomes more easy when the dog has a better, truer sense of how to have leash respect. That actually reminds me is maybe now is a good time.
Yeah, now's a great time. So
Now that we just talked to you about all these things.
Yeah, so Instructor Erin has set up a discount for anybody who's interested in our Puppy Essentials program, or she kicked it up a notch to our Life Skills program as well.
Nice.
So whether you're in puppy training mode or you're in adult dog training mode, she's got $30. Actually, it's 10% off. 10% off of our online program. So if you go to mccandogs.com and then go into the online training site, enter June Train Station, and you'll get 10% off of the program.
Nice.
We could be training with you as soon as tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting. Thank you, Instructor Erin, for setting that up. But this is the kind of thing.
Awesome.
Because when we talk about situations where, you think, like, my dog's not listening on my, leather 6-foot leash or whatever, but they are listening off leash. It could be that moment of an instructor watching you train your dog, watching your video, saying like, "Ooh, here's a little change you need to make,"
Yeah.
or consider how you're walking, the tone of voice you're using.
Yep.
There's a million different things, and this is what I learned when I was a student at McCann Dogs many years ago. Is that the most tiny changes can make a world of difference. Dog training is such a nuanced thing. Luis, just to thank you, lots of great advice. Well, thank you.
Nice. You made our
Appreciate
lights blue.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to. I like this question.
Thank you, Maggie. Our instructors are superb.
They are absolutely superb.
They're amazing.
When do I make training more difficult? Like, how do I crank it up a little bit?
Sort of have a simple answer for that, and that's when I sort of say, when you are working on a skill and you can't remember the last time your dog had a failure, you're ready to up the ante. You're ready to make it a little bit harder. And I think sometimes when people, what people don't realize with training is that once you teach your puppy to do something, if you're looking for them to be able to do that thing forever, so have longevity in that skill or reliability or however you want to look at it, you need to train your dog to do the thing, but then you need to go through a proofing stage to make sure that the dog knows it in all situations. They know it when you don't have a handful of food or your hand in the bait bag
100%.
or the leash on the collar or their favorite toy nearby or shaking the cookie bean. Like, lots of people think their dog's so trained, but really when you look at it, they're only trained in some circumstances. And we're looking for your dog to have reliability so that you can take your dog all over the place, anywhere, and they can listen to the same skills, the same expectations, no matter where they are, so that you can enjoy your dog in lots of places. So I would start to make things more difficult when your dog is showing you that they're really confident and reliable in what you're doing, and that looks like a dog that listens on the first command. That looks like a dog who's able to listen with a loose leash, and that is a dog that is able to listen in a bunch of different locations, not just in, the kitchen or the backyard or wherever you're training. And then you're ready to make things a bit more challenging. And you could do so by asking your dog to do the behavior longer. Maybe you try it with more distance. Maybe you bring in a bunch of distractions and see if your dog can still listen. But you want to just know that you can move on to the next step when you see reliability and focus from your dog. Usually it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Jennifer, what about a puppy biting your pants as you walk? Get a house line. Use a house line. It's the best management tool you could possibly have for your puppy.
Yeah.
The other thing I want you to keep in mind, though, in the mistakes that I made long before I was a trainer at McCann's, was when Kale's talking about you make it a little bit more difficult. We're talking about like incrementally more difficult. Sometimes we'll talk about the 3Ds, distance, distraction, and duration. Yeah. And we're only going to ever increase one of those at a time. Mm-hmm. So we can't expect our puppy to, I don't know, whatever you're working on to make things more difficult, to recall down your hallway and then go in the driveway or go in the parking lot and try to do the same exercise there. We're going to increase these things ever so slightly. And to Kale's point, ensure success. Make it really rewarding and motivating for your dog. But we really want them to understand, like, these words they work everywhere.
Yeah.
And the way to do that is to make sure that you're setting them up so they make the right choices. It's a great way to make things more difficult as you do your training. Common question: why shouldn't I give my puppy freedom to roam? This is so. I see this kind of question pretty often when it comes to like, oh, I can't use a crate, or I can't. How am I supposed to? Am I supposed to quit my job to train my puppy? And I'm like, oh man. So you shouldn't give your puppy freedom to roam because they have so many opportunities to get hurt, to make bad choices, to do the things that you don't want them to do.
Rehearse bad things,
especially when it comes to potty training or chewing. So
stealing your things, eating your shoes,
yeah,
barking at the window when people walk by. There's like literally endless things that they learn to do poorly.
Yeah, so if you've gotten a puppy and you're like, well, how on earth am I going to potty train this puppy when I go to work for 8 hours? Well, you're going to figure out some way for someone, whether it's you or a dog walker or somebody, to pop by maybe twice a day and let the puppy out so that they're not in there holding their bladder or bowel, so that they're not having accidents all over the place. But, the reason you don't want your puppy to have freedom to roam is you, at this point, especially when they're so little, and if you have a puppy that's like home for the first two weeks even, they're probably everywhere you go. They're like your little shadow. It is the most adorable thing. And people say, like, he's so smart, he's already trained. And then they get to like the 4-week mark, or 12-week mark, and they're like, there's a lot of world out here. I'm going to go adventure on my own.
So curious.
This is why you don't want to give your puppy freedom to roam. They will only make bad choices if they're allowed to do it and they find it satisfying. Remember, puppies will only do what's rewarding to them. So if they find it rewarding to chew on your shoes, if they find it rewarding to pee in the corner because they don't have to go outside, that's what they'll do. So by not giving them all kinds of freedom to roam, it ensures that your eyes on them. You know what they're doing. You can catch them in the act, which sometimes is the most valuable learning moment, especially when it comes to house training. If you catch your puppy in the act, hey, knock that off, or whatever interruptive thing you do, that really solidifies for your puppy, like, this is not the right thing, and then you can take them outside and finish out there. Giving your puppy freedom to roam also devalues you. At this point, we really want to focus on relationship, focus on showing your puppy why. Why should they even listen to you? It's not natural for them to, so we're going to have to give them a bunch of reasons. So if they can hang out in the living room and chew on a Kong chew toy, or they're stuffy or something, they're going to find that pretty gratifying. And then, hey, my food machine comes by and you drop off their dinner. Really, what value do you have? So if you can be there with them while they're making great choices, you can reward that. While they're making the wrong choices, you tell them, hey, knock it off or whatever. You really need to make it about you. It's so important, and it's so important during this really impressionable phase while you have a puppy.
Yeah.
Let me just see here. Okay, this is good. What does 100% supervision actually mean? I see Katie Can. I'm gonna grab your super chat in just a second.
What does 100% supervision actually mean? That means that both of your eyeballs are watching the puppy when they are not in their crate. And because we control all of the choices the puppies make when they're first learning the rules of the house, we can't do that all of the time because we still have a life to live and we have to do normal people things. And, our attention does have to veer away from the dog sometimes. They need to be able to do their own thing too. They need to be able to disconnect and have time away from you as well. That's also important. Supervision is very intense engagement and interaction with your puppy, and doing so by controlling the amount of space they can roam in the house. It kind of banks off of the freedom question before. If my puppy is in the kitchen with us when they're learning, they're only in the kitchen. They don't also have access to the living room. They can't go upstairs to the bedrooms. We restrict where they can go in the early stages until we know we can trust them, until we know they listen very, very well when we, give them commands and call them, when we know they can just go and chill and lie down and be calm and not be running around the house and causing havoc. That's when we can start to maybe lessen our supervision and give the dogs a bit more, independence, because we trust what choices they're going to make. But 100% supervision literally means you're paying attention to them. You're not multitasking and doing other things and not realizing you haven't paid attention for the last 10 minutes because you've been sending an email.
Yeah.
And
or
now,
on your phone.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Making dinner like, oh, it'll be fine. The puppy will be fine.
Now the dog's
Whoa.
chewed all the fuzz out of your Uggs or whatever it's been. So
especially if you got fuzzy Uggs.
Uggs are only fuzzy. So that's what it means.
Great. Katie Can, thank you for the super chat. Bonding has gone a little too well. He cries for ages when he can't get to me. Also, not food motivated during training. Okay, well, let's tackle these, or let's split these up and then talk about them individually. So let's talk about crying for ages when he can't get to me.
Yeah, honestly, I find this one really hard to answer because there are like 10 different directions that this could go. And it really depends on what the situation is. So this is a very difficult question to ask without having back and forth with you, which is the nice thing about our online classes, because we can do that with you a little bit more easily. So I'm just going to speak a little bit more generally here. Just because I don't know all of the points. Often people who are having separation issues like this, we would ask about their crate situation. We would ask about when they're using it. Are you even using one? Are you only using it when you go to bed or when you leave? Are you creating the puppy to have stress because they're not used to being separate from you? If the puppy is whining or crying, are you going back and, going, it's okay, yeah, right. and feeding into that and teaching the puppy that you like that response? There's a way to interact with dogs when they are, a little bit unsettled, when we're not with them, that can help promote more confidence. There are, crating methods that you can use to help with this. There's all kinds of things. So I find this one a little bit difficult to answer when there isn't a bit more of a back and forth opportunity. I don't know if you want to add something into that.
That's good. I mean, I think you hit on all the points. We have a couple of videos on the channel that talk a little bit about preparing your dog to get in the crate, get in their crate, but also picking those moments. Just because I don't know what your home situation is, but let's say even if you work from home, let's say you work from home, but that you need to go, do Zoom calls or something while your puppy's in the house, you should be picking times other than when you need to leave them so that you're separated from them. So having them go in their kennel while you make dinner, because you can focus on the training of that. I actually need to go up here.
I just want to see he's writing something.
Who?
Katie's writing something.
Oh, I see.
Just to clarify, he's 10 weeks old and we're coming to you starting next Thursday. Great. Okay, cool. That's great.
At 10 weeks old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
You have a very young puppy.
Yeah.
So we got you, Katie.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would mention that to your instructors, though, when you go, because they can have that great little back and forth with you, Katie, to make sure you're on the right track. But a 10-week-old puppy that's having that issue is very different than, like, if your puppy was like 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. So you're good. And the food motivated thing, just make sure that you're, number one, not overfeeding your puppy. Number two, not free feeding your puppy, so that you are feeding small meals. At 10 weeks, you could still be feeding three times a day if you want to. Smaller things, smaller portions. Give it to your puppy to eat and then pick it up. You might even feed your dog in the crate, especially if you have a dog that's a bit stressy about you leaving. Put the food bowl down and let your puppy eat from there.
You know what? Dan, can you send Katie or drop the link for the 5 Alive video where you were working on some food, like exercises, then you did the crate and he offered to go in the crate? like he just offered to go in there.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Dan, if you can find that one, I don't remember which one it is. I don't know if it's first day home or not,
Yep.
but that'd be great.
And then my recommendation to you is if you are coming to class, there's lots of distractions at class. So make sure that you bring your puppy to class very hungry. Also have lots and lots of different types of training treats.
Yeah.
It's really common for puppies to be interested in something for a short period of time. And so if you only bring one type of treat for like the entire time you're trying to train, some puppies will get bored of it. So multiple types of treats and high value treats. And I not necessarily, surprisingly, we wouldn't necessarily recommend that you go and get some from a pet store. Sometimes people have way more luck using like block cheese, chicken wieners, cut up chicken breast, that type of thing.
Our homemade tuna treats.
Yeah, I was just about to say we have an amazing, super simple recipe for tuna treats that are just a couple different ingredients, and most puppies are really motivated to work for it. So that's where I would start.
Awesome. Kira Ashley, thank you for the super chat. Let us know. Our mods will be keeping an eye on the chat to see if you have a question. Now, I like this one because what tools do you use for puppy training?
By tools, do you mean like
So, like, what
training
things
tools?
do you use? I guess so. Yeah, I think that's what I took training out. I mean, we practice what we preach.
Yeah.
Like we literally,
Yeah.
we have vlogs talking about this.
Yeah.
But we literally use all the things. And what
Yeah.
are all the
Every
things?
time I get a puppy, I have like my puppy training bag, and I have my arsenal of tools and things that I have in it, and it literally goes everywhere with me. Everywhere my puppy goes, their little backpack goes too. In that backpack, you would see, well, they would have a collar on their neck, obviously, but I would have a house line. I would have a long line, so when I'm training outside, I would have lots of different types of tug toys. I might sound like a bit of a crazy person here, or I'm going to sound like a smart dog trainer,
that's true.
there's different toys for different situations. So when I'm doing like recall training, for example, Ken and I love to play restrike recalls with our puppies, and we have these long puppy tugs that we sell that are like 4 feet long, and we love recall training with these
man.
tug toys
It is
because
the best.
I'll hold the puppy and Ken will take the tug toy and he'll call the puppy and run away from me, and I'll release my puppy to chase Ken, and then because the toy is so long, it kind of drags on the ground a little bit, and the puppy can grab hold of it. It's really skinny, so even puppies with little mouths, and it's very soft, so the puppies can sink their teeth into it really easily, and so you can play this really great game of tug as a reward. So I have that.
Let me know while Kale answers more questions. From what you just heard Kale mention, what do you think? What are a couple of things the puppy's going to learn from that one exercise? What do you think you can accomplish from doing those restrained recalls? Drop it in the chat. I want to see how closely you guys are paying attention, because there's so much in that one exercise that it just until you sort of like look at it a little analytically, you don't realize how valuable something like that is.
For sure.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. The other toy that we would use is like a smaller toy, fuzzy ball tug or anything like that, where I might start to work on teaching my puppy to retrieve. That's something teaching my puppy to fetch, go grab a toy and bring it back to me so we can play tug together. This is something I always do as well. I have like a whack load of training treats. I have a training treat bag. I will have usually like a couple different bones, chew bones as well, that I could, put in their crate to chew, or, if I want the puppy to be out with me and I just want the puppy to be calm, I can give them something to do. I don't know. I usually have like a mat or a bed that I can roll up, and in the early stages, not necessarily go in the crate, but I would just have it with me so I could work on teaching my puppy some on your bed training, which builds into, calm and mindfulness in the house later. It works on self-control.
Bruno was mentioning he's early in the live stream mentioned something about like, how do I build in an off switch? Or like, I'd love if this dog had an off switch on your bed. Is the way to do that.
Yeah.
It is the perfect exercise to start to turn, flip that off switch for your puppy. Regardless of the amount of energy, it's going to take a little bit of pre-work. You're going to have to know that your puppy's in the right state of mind to work on an exercise like that. But it's also like a trick. It's also like a skill.
Yeah.
I mean, it is everything. And it's
I
a great
would
way
say
to...
one of my favorite extra skills that we teach our dogs is the command, go and lie down.
Yeah, totally. For sure.
We use it.
It's so functional.
We use it
Yeah.
all day, every day. If I'm like typing on the computer, even for simple things like we have one border collie that like really loves to be petted and loved. Grand slam.
Yeah.
Like, and so if you're typing on the computer, he's the dog that like will come and lift your arm because he wants you to pet him. And obviously I love to pet him, but sometimes I'm like trying to get stuff done. And all I have to say is go and lie down like that nicely. And he's like, okay. And then he just goes and finds a spot and lays down, and just learns to chill out. And it's nice because obviously when he was a puppy, he couldn't do that. But as they get more trained, it's just a nice way to get the dog just to go and chill.
Totally. Just a reminder, I see we've got a couple new students in online training. We'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome.
June Train Station for 10% off of all of our programs, Life Skills, and for Puppy Essentials.
Yep. If you have a puppy under 5 months, then you're going to register for Puppy Essentials. And if you have a dog over 5 months, any age over 5 months, then you would take our Life Skills program. They're two totally different programs working on two totally different things, but they go together.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Well, how do I teach my puppy to like their crate? Now, it's asked in a very straightforward, like there's one answer kind of way, but it's actually a little bit more challenging than you'd think. Kale talked a little bit about some simple crate exercises that you can do where you're feeding your puppy in their crate, you're tossing food in the crate, making a bit of a game of it. But there's a few things that you can do before it's time to go in their crate that can actually make things much, much easier. Number one, making sure that they've gone out to pee or poop before they go into their crate.
Now that's not why they're barking.
Exactly, yeah, because especially if you are in the stage of that you're crating your puppy often, you need to make sure that you've taken care of all of the things that could be wrong, or needs they might have before you ignore some of the noise that they make. Do some exercise with them. The puppy tug, like do some tug, exercise them physically. Yeah, it's so valuable. Exercise them physically because when they get in the crate, they're just going to want to lie down and sleep.
Yeah, I hardly ever put my puppy into a crate when they have high energy.
No.
It's always after I've trained them I've played with them or done something. So by the time they need to go in their crate for a few hours because I have to go out or I have to work or whatever it might be, my puppy's like, cool, I'm ready for a nap, man. Also, too, like we don't really let our puppies nap out of the crate when they're young either. Even if I see my puppy starting to get sleepy, I go put them in their crate. I want to teach them to go and chill out and have, time to relax.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've taken care of those two things. You can even do something like some mental exercises. So whether that's food luring, depending on the age of your puppy, it'll change what exercises you're doing. But maybe it's some food luring. Maybe you're luring your puppy into a sit. Maybe you're luring them onto a bed and teaching them how to lie down. Or maybe it's it could be a million different things. But exercising them physically, then exercising them mentally is a nice way to sort of land the plane. Yeah. So and it doesn't take long. We're not talking about a 35-minute training session. Nope. We're talking about a 3.5-minute training session. And then they're ready to go in their kennel. Do we start Life Skills as soon as we finish Puppy Essentials?
Sure do.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it for sure.
People sometimes do want to take time off to perfect the drills and skills that you learned in one program. But that's not really how our whole Life Skills program is structured. It's structured to help you through the bumpy parts because often what happens is you take Puppy Essentials and you lay down a really good foundation. You get through a lot of the puppy stuff, bonding, nipping and biting, house training, basic skills, all of that kind of stuff. And then you go into Life Skills where we really start to work on skills that are going to make your dog easier to live with. But often what happens is you get to the end of your Life Skills program, you're getting some great skills underneath your belt, and then your dog starts to hit a new section of adolescence. And some people think that their training is done, but it's actually the most important part is to train your dog through those moments. So if you can just go right from program to program to program to program, you get the best results because the dogs don't have any time to get rusty. You don't fall off the wagon of practicing. You're accountable because you have
Structure.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah,
totally.
And honestly, people are often surprised to hear this. My last name's McCann. This is my family's business. I've been doing this forever. I know how to train dogs. I personally take my puppies to every single level when they are a puppy at our school. They do Puppy Essentials, grade 1 or life skills 2, life skills 3, life skills 4, and then usually I do life skills in 3 and life skills 4 for over and over and over and over and over again because I love the structure that it provides. It also keeps me training because I know I have to go to class, and even though I could probably do it on myself, you get busy, you get lazy, you just get disconnected. So I literally do it with my own dogs, even though I don't really need the instruction, but I love to do it because of the structure.
Yeah. AQ, how long do you get access to Puppy Essentials? And Instructor Robbie said you get 3 months access to Puppy Essentials. And that's important because we are actually supporting you.
It's a 4-week program, so it allows you to have some wiggle room.
So, but the important part, I know people have said, like, well, I want lifetime access. Like, I want access to these videos or whatever. And what's so valuable about our program is we're actually helping you. This isn't like a bunch of YouTube videos that you'll watch.
You want to have us available to you. That's the beauty of it.
Totally. What you want is to not feel like you can fail.
Yeah.
What you want is for somebody to like know your dog, know you, so that they can give you the right advice.
Yeah.
And that's why we shorten that window that you have access to like all of the support, and then life skills is another period, and then we actually have an ongoing monthly members that you can continue to get support with. Mm-hmm. But that's why we actually time stamp the program.
Yeah.
What kind of toys should I get for my puppy? This is a common question because I think people always want to buy like the coolest toys,
and then their dog wrecks
the cutest toys,
and then think they just get another one.
I know.
So basically, you have 2 categories of toys when it comes to dog training and having a dog, owning a dog. One is going to be for chewing, that you can give them. They can go off and chew without you. They can have it in their crate. They can have it on their dog bed. It's for them to actually lie down and actively chew on it. Great for their gums, great for their teeth, great for stimulation, great for all of those things. And those items need to be safe. They need to be indestructible. They need to be something that you would not worry walking away and leaving your puppy with it because you know it's going to be okay. Those are the types of chew toys, chew bones, chew whatever, that your puppy should have access to 24/7. We have a little basket in our living room, and it is filled with chew toys. So toys that Ken and I know that if our dogs go and grab them, there's nothing to rip apart, there's nothing to chew on it that they could break or ingest or hurt themselves on. And our dogs can go and get them and chew on them and play with them anytime that they want to. The second category is what we call interactive toys. So these are special toys. These are toys that are only used when you are involved. And this is where your tug toys are going to come in, your fuzzy ball tugs, your frisbees, your tennis balls, or whatever your things are going to be.
Maybe not tennis balls.
No, well, you could play ball with your dog, but you're not going to, I wouldn't give my dog a tennis ball to go and chew.
Right.
I would throw a tennis ball maybe with my dogs. I personally don't do that with my dogs because I'm too worried about them getting hurt, but I'm also a little crazy about that.
Yeah.
But so those types of toys would be ones that maybe live in my training bag or maybe live in a container on the top of my dog's crate where my dog can't just get it whenever they want to. I would bring those toys out. We would play fetch. We would play tug. We would do some training. And once we've done playing, that toy would go away. Yeah. The other thing that does besides allowing me to keep my dog safe is it builds value for that toy. I have certain toys with my dogs where if I pull Five, our youngest dog's name is Five Alive. If I pull certain toys out, he associates that with like the job that we're doing. So this toy means like, oh, this is the toy she uses when we go swimming all the time. This is the toy she uses mostly when I do a dog agility. My dogs have certain toys they only get when they play dog agility. And they are like, oh my God, I know what that means. They don't get it all of the time. I keep it very special. And that builds a lot of drive and a lot of love for the activity that we're doing together and also for that particular toy. Why would they get hurt from tennis balls? Because dogs can defuzz tennis balls. It's terrible for their teeth and for their gums. It will grind their teeth down and it gives me the willy woos. But they'll also skin it and swallow the outside of the tennis ball.
But you're also pretty cautious about like an unpredictable bounce too. Like if the tennis ball goes out and bounces, it bounces
Oh,
a funny
you're not
direction.
referring to like chewing it. Yeah. I don't throw anything for my dogs that they will, could like jar themselves. When people throw balls like over the top of the dog's heads and stuff, it's a great way to like tear
so
cruciate.
I know.
I may be looking from a different perspective because I
Yeah.
play very, very high level dog sports, and I literally don't even let anyone throw anything for my dog. And some people might be like, "Oh my God, you're so mean," but I'm very careful with my dog's bodies, and they are, they're very precious. I want them to live for a long time with no injuries and be old and comfortable and not sore and all of that stuff. So we're careful.
I want to go back for a second to the talk about the chew toys, and we give our dogs access when they want to some chew toys, or we'll give a puppy a chew toy.
Yeah.
But the very first time you give your puppy a chew toy, regardless of what it is, I want you to be watching them. Get a sense of like what kind of chewer are they? How quickly do they chew through things? Are they the kind of puppy that'll get their entire mouth over something? A decent rule of thumb is to get like a size and a half bigger than whatever the size recommended is. That way they can't like hurt their teeth, get it all the way in their mouth. But even the safest chew toys out there, until you have a sense of what kind of chewer you have, it's a great idea to supervise that as well.
Yeah.
And then once you get a sense of how your puppy, like I'll tell you what makes me this reminds me of this. Deegan, the black Labrador Retriever that brought me to McCann Dogs many, many years ago. I got her a Kong toy because I'd heard these things are amazing. They're nearly indestructible. I got her a red Kong, and the top was off of it in about 4.5 minutes. But luckily, I was observing her, so I knew from that point on I had to get the extra tough chewers Kong, and she loved that. But it was important to keep an eye. It is important to keep an eye on your puppy while they're figuring out while you're figuring out what kind of chewer they are. So don't overlook that. That is important. But interactive toys are so valuable. I didn't get a chance to see when we talked about the restraint recall. You are achieving so much. Kale will go to, the end of the hallway, or when we're outside, Kale will go take the fuzzy, the puppy tug and run away with it, exciting the puppy. I'll hold the puppy, and then she'll call their name. The puppy goes racing towards her, hits the end of that tug, and has a great time.
Yeah.
That dog is starting to learn response to name or whatever command we're using, whatever word we're using. They're starting to learn that, like, oh, every time I hear that word, I run towards you. They're starting to learn that you are of value. You're something exciting, and you're the bringer of good things. So by the time they get to you, you have all the value in the world. All the while, the environment's going on around them, maybe even in your house, in a hallway.
Yeah, we do it in like a bunch of different places.
Totally.
I also like to do it with different people holding my puppy as well, because the puppy gets used to somebody getting in their space and holding them. Yep. And then after a few seconds of being held, they get to run and have fun. So they start to get less worried about other people, like getting in their space. So good for them.
Yeah. You're also getting exercise. Like this one thing you do. This is the thing we do with a puppy before bed. We'll do some restrained recalls. We'll do some mental stimulation. But the beauty of this kind of exercise is then they've got to poop. Your puppy has to poop after these kinds of things. So if you're wondering, like, oh boy, I don't want to put the puppy in their kennel before bedtime because I don't know if they're going to poop in there, it's a great way to stimulate that kind of thing. So I mean, it just accomplishes so much. Another great question. What is one piece of advice you can give to every puppy owner? One piece of advice. If you had to condense down, the most valuable thing I have to say right now is...
Don't wait to train your puppy.
Don't wait to train your puppy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
start right away.
Yeah.
Or dog. Like if you have an older dog and you're like, I haven't started yet, start tomorrow. The more training that you can do, the faster you're going to get to the point where you can actually really enjoy your dog. You don't need to give your dog time to be a puppy and to do their own thing.
100%.
You're going to do stuff together. They're going to have all kinds of wonderful experiences with you. So I would say start training right away. And the other thing that I would say is, really understand that a well-trained dog takes work and it takes time and effort. There are very little things when training a dog, if you want it to be done well, that is a quick fix. You have to do the work, you have to do the repetition, and you need to be ready to do that. A lot of people just like want to put the magic collar on or get, they always say, what treat do you use? That your dog must listen so great because you have great treats. That's not the
I love
secret,
that one,
guys.
yeah.
It's not the secret.
Yeah.
I can air treat my dog sometimes. I literally can fake giving her a treat. And she goes, oh, cool. Because it's not about the treat. It's about teaching the dog to work for you. It's a much bigger thing, but it's not a fast process. You have to be willing to do the work. And if you do that, you're going to get a fabulous dog.
Yeah, my one piece of advice would be it is going to be work, but it is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you.
It's also fun.
I can't tell you the difference that it made for me, having experienced, I had a 2-year-old Labrador Retriever that I brought to McCann Dogs after my vet said, listen, I can't even assess her. You need to go over to McCann Dogs and get some training. And having that experience versus having an experience where we started, where I learned more about dog training, I became a trainer. I had my own puppy and I started them the right way. Mm-hmm. It was so much easier. It's that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, I think is the saying. It was so much easier to just give them good information to start off with. But I had to go out of my way to make sure that I had a good schedule and I was giving the puppy the exercise and physical and mental exercise that they needed. Mm-hmm. It was work, but I will tell you, it has paid off for the last however many years, however long your dog lives. If you put in the 6, 8, 12 months of work, it will pay off for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to go more places, do more things with them. You won't be dealing with some of the really challenging things that if you, you ignore them now, you're like, it's a puppy, it's no big deal. It becomes a problem in the future. Get your butt in gear and get training because you're going to thank yourself 6 months from now when you can walk down the street, when you go to your kid's soccer game, when you can go to the park and throw a Frisbee and not be worried about, oh no, there's someone coming in, at the far end of the park. That's why you got the dog, to enjoy these things. And you're entirely capable of living this life with your dog. But it's going to be a little bit of work. Mm-hmm. So I want you to remember that's exactly why we do these
There's your dog
things.
training sermon for the night, guys.
Absolutely. Listen, it's worth it. And this is why we love to sit down with you guys and have these really honest conversations. Because sometimes you need to hear it. I know I did. And I'm sort of projecting, my experience on you at home. But I think you're probably in the same situation I was. I think I need help. I don't really know what to do. Well, we can help you here at McCann Dogs, whether it's online, in person. We'd love to help you, work with you, and help you to have that amazing four-legged family member. Tonight, we have a discount coupon, June Train Station. You can be joining us 10% off of our Puppy Essentials or Life Skills programs online. So if you don't live close to us, we're in Flamborough, Ontario, Canada. And if you live close to us, stop by. We're opening a pool very soon for dock diving.
We are.
Yeah, we're going to be pretty excited about that. So you can stop by.
We have everything. Parkour, dock diving, dog agility.
Absolutely.
You name it. There's something to do with your dog.
For sure. I noticed Jennifer earlier mentioned that she loves using the McCann Dogs music channel when she puts her puppy in their crate. She said it found it really valuable. Yeah, I know. Actually, the other day, I came home and Kale and Beeline were sleeping on a great big beanbag chair and McCann Dogs music was playing on the TV. So
I think there was a storm, so I put it on so that she would just not be worried.
Yeah.
And then I laid down beside her, and within 10 minutes, we were both just fast asleep.
Yeah, it's exact. I should have taken a picture of it. But McCann Dogs Music is a music channel that we created. It's also available on Spotify and Apple Music. If you're working on crate training, if you're working on desensitizing your dog, if you have a dog that's a little bit aware or sensitive to environmental noise, we made music. We worked with music creators just for dogs. So check it out.
Perfect for traveling as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of tonight's show, you're going to be asked if you want to go directly there. So click on it, check it out,
Thanks,
see what you
Louie.
think. Louie, thank you so much for the advice. Good night. You have a good night too. And with all of the teaching, all of the training, all of the things that we've talked about tonight, the rest, my friends, well, that is up to you.